Hello, thank you for joining the Lazaridis School for our Beyond the Degree video series. My name is Graham McCormick, and I'm the Corporate Engagement Officer for the Lazaridis School of Business and Economics at Wilfrid Laurier University and a BBA alumnus from 2011. Today, we're joined by Sahil Jaggi, Managing Director at Mink Homes and an alumnus of the Bachelors of Economics program, class of 2008. Sahil started his career in New York as a financial analyst with CIBC World Markets before getting his realtor license and transitioning into real estate investing in Toronto. Today, Sahil manages a $21 million portfolio that includes more than 16 properties around the GTA. Sahil, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me, Graham.
To get things going, you did your bachelor's degree in economics with a concentration in finance at the Lazaridis School. Why did you choose Laurier, and what drew you to the economics program?
It's a great question. So, at the time when I graduated, I had a few options in front of me. I had York University, which is Schulich School of Business. I had U of T, and I also had McMaster and Laurier. So those were like the top four choices. And I think the biggest draw for me for Laurier was that the fact that it was like, everybody that I talked to that went to Laurier praised that it was like a very small classroom vibe. The campus was extremely friendly. And personally, I like the fact that, it would give me a chance to, leave Toronto and go outside of the city, live in the student housing. Every person who lived in student housing in Laurier had nothing but amazing things to say. So that really drew to me. And, every time you are in a position where you're in a small classrooms, in a small classroom, it makes it a little bit more personal. I felt like the attention to detail to each student by professors was a lot more attractive. And the best part was by the time we graduated in fourth year, I knew every single person in my program because of that small classroom effect. So I think I made the right choice by going to Laurier. And besides many other things that I love about the school, the one thing that drew me was the fact that it's got that small classroom vibe.
Now, I think you make, such a great point that the culture on campus in Waterloo is, you run into friends, you run into classmates, from first year all the way through to your fourth year. Yeah. Now, following your bachelor's degree, you moved to New York and took a role as an analyst, in equity capital markets with CIBC World Markets. How did you end up in New York, and what was that experience like as a new graduate?
So, I wasn't in the intern program. Isn't like, I wasn't in the co-op program. For me, getting my foot in the door in finance was the dream because, I was in the economics and finance program. The dream was to work as an investment banker. I did interview, and Laurier presented some really good networking events in which it gave me a chance to meet people from CIBC, TD, boutique investment banking firms. And the gentleman that I met in CIBC if they were interviewing for people in Toronto. And when I met him, I got invited to go and do an interview right out of Laurier, and I didn't get the job. And I was a little surprised because I felt that the interview went really well. I followed up with the guy and I said, look, I'm willing to go anywhere. I'm not, I came from India to Laurier, and from Laurier for me to go somewhere else, it's totally fine. I'm very happy to live, but I do want to work at CIBC. It's the culture that I most resonate with. And he's like, would you want to go to New York? And I said, absolutely. Who doesn't want to work on Wall Street straight out of school? So he hooked me up with somebody in HR in New York. And I went there for an interview. And when I sat there in the interview, I think the people who were interviewing me didn't realize that I came all the way from Toronto just for that interview. And I think that part really stuck with them. And they're like, wow, so where do you live in New York? I said, I don't live in New York. I live in Toronto. I was currently stationed in Waterloo. I'm about to graduate in 4 months, and I'm looking to, join this position. So that really impressed them. And, I don't want to say lucky because I did work really hard to get that position. I did work very hard in my networking. I wouldn't say my grades were like straight A's. It was more about the networking opportunities that Laurier provided, and the fact that I took the initiative to meet a lot of people, interact with a lot of people. And I got, in the end, it all worked out and was the right person at the right time. And I got that job straight out of school, which was a dream job for anybody in finance at the time.
That just sounds just so exciting, again, right out of school, and, highlighting the fact to, our students listening today that, take the opportunities to network, and you really don't know, who you're going to meet over, your course of, be it job interviews, and placements that, stay connected because, they can always open other doors for you.
Absolutely.
Now, following your time in New York, you switched gears and spent a couple years in Toronto as a major retail development representative, a sales role for Nestle. What did you think you learned about sales during this time that has benefited you since?
I want to say combined, like, sales is one of the things that I'm very passionate about. I always enjoyed doing sales. And now, I'm also teaching sales. I'm part of like teaching a bunch of students as a restart mentorship program. I teach sales for a living. So sales has always been something that I've always resonated towards. And I believe if you know sales really well, it ties in right with the entrepreneurship, right? So for me to like, even transition from New York, which was like that, 6 to 9 culture. I don't want to say 9 to 5, it was actually a 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. job. So for me, the biggest draw was that I don't want to sit behind a desk. I want to be out there. I want to be interacting with people. So it was a huge, complete flip of a position for me to go from like, wearing the suit, working on Wall Street, coming back to Toronto and going straight into like sales, which had no office, nothing. You're going from client to client to client. And one of the things that I don't want to say regret, but one of the things that I wish I had done in Laurier was the co-op program, which I think gives you a chance to sort of recognize what kind of field you resonated. At the time when I got into Laurier, finance and economics is something that I really wanted to do. But by the time I graduated, and I automatically went into that, I've invested 4 years of my life into finance. I want to do finance. I want to go into finance. It didn't take me long to realize finance is actually something that I didn't want to do. And that could have been recognized at the time of co-op, right? I could have recognized doing an internship to realize this is something that I want to do. This is something that I couldn't want to do. So once I got into the actual position of Wall Street, it didn't resonate with me that much. I was good at it, but I wanted to come back to Toronto and go straight into sales. And it was absolutely fantastic position. Nestle is a great company to work with. And even at the interview at Nestle, they're like, you seem a little overqualified for the job. Are you sure you want to do sales for Nestle and go convenience store to convenience store or work with major retailers such as Costco and all that? And it's a complete switch from like, doing finance into sales. So I love the fact that I was able to do sales. And I think it really helped me develop skills to go into entrepreneurship, which was real estate and which has a lot of sales aspect to it.
So many great points there. The ones that really resonate with me is, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you should be doing it, right? You really have to find, your passion and really what you want to do, every single day. And to your point that you're right, sales, every single day is different, right? And it doesn't matter what role you end up in the long term, you're making a sale to someone in some capacity. So I think that was really great information. Now, during your time with Nestle, you started purchasing homes as investments and renting them out. How did you manage to find some balance between your day job, which was, pretty grueling on the road, to also managing your fast growing business?
So great question. I think Nestle, in a way, when I came out of Wall Street and I went straight into the sales position at Nestle, it was more of a transition into real estate. I take that 2.5 years working at Nestle. For me, I didn't have the opportunity to just, or a backup to just go into something without having to transition. Transition was very important to me because I did need a stream of income before I could completely realize this is what I want to do. Because anything new that you're going to do, whether it's business or getting a realtor license, you have to give it time to grow. So Nestle gave me a really good chance to sort of transition from something that I enjoyed doing, but something that I really wanted to do, which was real estate. So when you talk about balance, there was none. I think it was more for like 9 to 5 Nestle, and then 5 to 9, I was spending all my time doing real estate. But the difference was that, real estate, I quickly realized was something that was my passion. I absolutely loved doing real estate from the day I started it and until the day today, which I'm still doing real estate. So, it's extremely important to all the young people out there that, find something that you are passionate about. Once you found that, and until you found something that you're absolutely passionate about, that it doesn't feel like work, you have to keep looking for that thing, right? And that's why I go back to saying, like, co-op provides you an amazing opportunity to sort of taste different aspects of different industries to realize by the time you graduate, this is something that I've enjoyed doing for 4 months, as opposed to the other 3 internships, and you can then pursue that. For me, it took a little while and it took a lot of hard work and a lot of transition. But once I did find it, spending my evenings after working for Nestle, it didn't feel like I was pushing myself or I was working too hard. For me, it was more like, you know what, this is so interesting. I want to spend the next 3 hours of my day doing this, and quickly realizing that, I was also applying a lot of my economics and finance knowledge into real estate, which are kind of tied together. And I realized that I was starting to find a lot of opportunities in real estate. And from that point, until I realized that I don't need a full-time job, I could easily start working full-time in real estate. And I think that transition was very important.
You know, we were talked about it again, the co-op program, for students, it is an opportunity to test drive, roles and jobs, but also vice versa, for employers to test drive students to see, if there's a fit there as well. But I think, continually showing perspective on if these students can find something that they really love to do, it's never going to feel like work.
Absolutely.
They'll never work a day in their life if they really love what they do.
Yeah, in my current business right now, I'm inviting interns every summer to intern with me. This is the third round of interns that I'm working with this summer. And the biggest thing I tell them is that, look, this 3 to 4 months is your chance to realize if real estate is for you or not. And for me to realize if you could be a good fit starting as a full-time position when you graduate or not. So I think you hit a very good point there, which is that it's not just about you finding the right person. It's also about that person finding you as being the right fit for the job. And these internships, these networking opportunities are all available. And I felt in Laurier was very much available for you to explore. And, when you come from a place where you tell people that I went to Wilfrid Laurier, I did business, I did economics, a lot of people welcome you with open arms because they know you come from that strong footing of a place, right? So funny enough, I have a Laurier intern right now in our office that's interning for the summer. So it gives you that impression that, Laurier has that reputation that it will give you the opportunities with employers to go and test out for a summer if this is the kind of job you want to do.
What do you think you've got as an employer of someone who's been hiring interns the last couple of years? What do you think you've learned anything specific from them, or have you learned anything about yourself and your management style that you may not have discovered if you hadn't been bringing students on board?
Graham, one thing I've realized that you could either be very, very good at sales or you could be very, very good at operations or management. So one of the things as an entrepreneur, it's very important for you to recognize is what you're good at and what you're not good at. I know for a fact I'm a very good at sales, and obviously the record speaks for itself. I've done really well in sales. But the biggest challenge that I've had as an employer that maybe I'm not the best manager because I don't have that ability to sit and analyze things as much. For me, it's all about getting out, meeting people, and getting more and more new business. So this year, I've actually introduced another person. He's a partner of mine. He's a managing partner now. What he's doing is that I'm out there doing what I love, which is selling, meeting people, finding deals, and buying more and more investment properties and transitioning a little bit more into development. But as you grow, you do need somebody in the office helping you manage, helping you, do operations properly, and helping you make, like, for example, build an infrastructure that can help you grow as well. So I think hiring interns, hiring employees, hiring admins is a part of entrepreneurship that everybody at some point has to go through if they're going to grow. Otherwise, you will cap out. So having interns has, I guess the biggest learning experience has been is that it's a challenge to be able to organize the day, not just for yourself, but also now another person who's coming in expecting to learn, expecting to grow, and expecting to find out if this is a good fit or not. So maybe the first summer I wasn't the best because I was out of the office all the time. I didn't really know how to manage them. But my partner, who complements me really well, is really good at that. So he's in charge of, managing the interns, managing the business that I build in, and managing and making sure that the infrastructure is there for us to grow. Because if you don't have the infrastructure and you're just going towards growth, you're going to fall apart very soon.
No, I completely agree with you, and excellent points. Just, I'm looking at the clock and I'm noticing we're almost out of time, and I have one last question. Sure. What advice would you have for any students starting in the economics program?
Economics has been one of my, I would say it's like, at the time when you're doing economics, I used to question, like, why am I learning about this? What's the point of this? What's this? What's that? And you always question that. My advice to people in economics is stick to it. Economics is something that you will use as an entrepreneur in your business to make even day-to-day decisions and day-to-day smart investment decisions. It's one of the best foundations you can have as an entrepreneur and as a business, because today I realize that every single thing I do, there's that inbuilt economics analysis that is going on in my head unconsciously. And when you come out from a program that's giving you advanced knowledge about economics, it becomes a part of you. So maybe, don't question it. Don't I'm so glad that I didn't just do BBA. I actually did economics and I minored in finance because it's so applicable to almost every single industry. It's not just, if you get an economics job, you're just going to do your PhD or something like that. Economics is a fundamental, it's one of the most fundamental knowledgeable things that you can have as a person, and that is applicable in any business across any industry. And I can guarantee that. So it's one of the best programs to be in. And I encourage every single student, I keep repeating co-op or get your own internships to really, and it opens the doors in different sections and different, I would say, aspects of business jobs, right? You can go into accounting, you can go into finance, and it gives you that opportunity to major in economics, but minor in any other thing that you can do. And you'll walk out with that amazing knowledge of pretty much everything. But economics is a lot inbuilt. It's a lot of unconscious knowledge that you're going to walk away with. I hope that makes sense.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and experience with us today. I know it'll be of great value to everyone in the Lazaridis School and Laurier community. Thank you again for watching Beyond the Degree, featuring Sahil Jaggi, Managing Director at Mink Homes and a graduate of the Lazaridis School.
Thank you so much for having me, Graham. It was a pleasure.